Hello and welcome to another episode of the MTG Arena Run. Today we're going to be taking a look at yet another constructed deck. We're actually going to be looking at the Artifacts Attack Precon. This one is Azorius team, basically white and blue, but it takes a lot. It kind of forces the Artifact team quite a bit. It also forces a bit of an aggro team, so a lot of the things we associate with white and blue, control, counter spells and whatnot, not quite here. But that said, let's take a look at the deck. Let's see what we can make out of it. So, okay. So as you can see, this deck does have a bit of an A plus B team where you want to have artifacts and you want to have your creatures that synergize with the artifacts. But that said, they're not exactly the greatest choices. So let's take a look first. We have Gearsmith Prodigy. At best, it's a 2/2 for 1 mana. It could be impressive against the right deck, but blue is not exactly well known for aggro and for good reasons, so this is not exactly gonna bode very well. That said, we will try to see how much we can take advantage of this guy. We also have for our artifact, 4 copies of Field Creeper, 3 copies of Sky Scanner, and 2 copies of Juggernaut. Sounds a bit light, right? So we also have 3 copies of Aviation Pioneer, so that gives us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 artifacts. So we can see one of our first problems here. Another thing of note is that all of the artifacts are creatures as well, so, and not just creatures, they're creatures that are otherwise quite plain. We got 2/1 for 2 mana. Sure, we get a card, but otherwise we just get a 1/1 flyer. We have a 5/3 that attacks all the time. So we probably want better artifacts. So that's probably one of the first things to note. That said, we do have other cards as well. Let's see. 2 copies of Relic Runner that become unblockable when we cast. In this case, actually no, not true. It's when we cast. Usually it's our artifact spells, but we do have 3 legendary creatures here. We got we'll get to those later. You got 3 copies of Seal Away as some basic removal, 2 copies of Disperse. This one will probably change quickly. We also got 2 copies of Temporal Machinations. Again, this will also most likely be replaced quickly as well. We got also for artifact synergies, we got Aether Shield Artificer, so a 3/3 for 4 mana, and it makes one of our artifacts indestructible and boosts it up a little bit. So best case is the Juggernaut. That's probably gonna die the quickest, but otherwise we're just gonna have like a 3/3 flyer indestructible, a 4/3 creature indestructible. Not something to write home about, so we'll see how well this guy goes. I'm probably more impressed with the Aerial Engineer. This one itself becomes a 4/4 flyer when you do have an artifact, so probably one direction we might take is to replace some of these artifact creatures with some non-artifacts, so that they'll be forced to deal with the Aerial Engineer directly. They won't be able to just ground it by shooting down our Topter or whatnot. Got a single copy of Settle the Wreckage, so that's good. Got a single copy of One with the Machine. At best, it draws us 4 cards, so not so great. Also, Sorcery Speed. We probably want better options. We also got copy of Teshar, so cast one of our artifact spells. We could buy back a lot of these creatures. If we keep Teshar, that's something we're going to have to consider. But there's a good chance we're probably not going to keep Teshar, because on its own it's just a 2/2 flyer for 4 mana. On the top end we got Azor, the Lawbringer. So 6/6 for 6 with flying. Prevents our opponent from casting the usual removal spells, at least for 1 turn. And it's basically Sphinx's Revelation on stick. Whenever it attacks, we can pay white, blue, blue, and X to draw X cards and gain X life. So pretty good if we can get him online. But this is the part where my dogs start barking. It's also the part where we start to see a little bit of conflict. Without Kaladesh, and to an extent without Amonkhet, without those blocks, there's very little direction to take the artifact deck into. We just basically got a whole bunch of synergies, and that's pretty much about it. The previous iteration of this was more tuned towards historic, and that probably actually ran better. Anyway, so moving on, we got Goring Ceratops, 6/6 double, no, 6/6. It's a 3/3 double strike for 7 mana. When it attacks other creatures we control, gain double strike. Again, seems very out of place, probably also gonna disappear. Nezela Primal Tide, this one, if we keep a strict artifact synergies deck, this one also probably will go, but if we decide to shift towards a more controlling route, we don't depend too much on the artifact synergy, this guy might actually stay. 7/7 can't be countered, so it's good against the control matchup. Draws us cards when our opponents try to remove it or try to cast anything that's not a creature spell, and we could somewhat protect it a bit. This is actually very good against removal cards like Luminous Bonds and whatnot. Well, especially Luminous Bonds, we don't have to rush to discard the 3 cards. We can just take our time. Probably worse against something like a Seal Away though. And the usual, this one's the 25 land deck. 1 check land, 4 tap lands. Things to note are the absolute lack of counter spells. That's probably the first thing that will change. I can understand why the deck doesn't have it. Its counter spells are not exactly a strategy that you want to give newer players, especially this welcome deck of sorts, but it's something that you're gonna have to learn how to love, learn how to use. So with that said, let's go to our constructed event. And we'll see how well we do. So I'm gonna set up the screen, so we're gonna hit the play button. Now, one thing I need to mention is that there is a chance that I might have to do a quick pause if ever the internet becomes a problem. I'm still working on the splash screen on the right side. Well, I guess because sometimes some player names can be longer, that might be a problem. Actually, I want to know, is it really worth it for me to set up my splash screens in a way to censor player names or not? That said, this is a definite keeper. Early removal, turn 3 Aviation Pioneer. This one, currently this sequence curves out by itself, so I'm definitely keeping this. So what I would be looking for are some early game cards. Probably not Gearsmith Prodigy. It might be a bit late at this point. Actually, that's probably the one issue with not so... Yeah, this Sky Sand is a better one, but we'll probably play the Aviation Pioneer first. So our opponent is white-black, currently leaning towards black, but... Yep, so it's a Vampires deck. We're going to have to pass the turn. We'll definitely play the Aviation Pioneer first. I wish I drew that Field Creeper earlier. So, at the very least, we can just throw the Pioneer under the bus. Then, if we draw into mana, we can seal away this Lieutenant. Basically, I want to encourage him to attack, I guess. The other option is just for me to cast Sky Scanner, draw the card, get it over with. That also encourages the Lieutenant to attack. There we go. Drew the land we need. We could also just play the Artificer, then we can start returning back. Depends on what our opponent plays turn 3 rather. Fountain of Renewal. So he does have a life gain team. A Johnny's Pride Mate. So we're not gonna block this. Got turn 4 Juggernaut. It's only gonna trade with the Pride Mate. Aether Shield, Artificer. I can play this, swing with the Sky Scanner. If our opponent doesn't have any additional life gain, I am willing to just trade the Pride Mate for the Artificer. So let's do that. Also note that the buff and the indestructibility is until end of turn, so no point holding this guy back. Let's see what if our opponent gets any additional life gain than this, he's definitely gonna attack with that prime target for seal away. I'd much rather seal away the lieutenant. So we're gonna be taking damage to the resource. So I'm gonna throw this away. Let's see what his combat trick is. So Nightmare's Thirst. Okay. I honestly would have targeted the Sky Scanner. That said, let's throw the Field Creeper and Pride Mate. Seal away the Pride Mate. I don't think our opponent has any bounce effects. Even if our opponent manages to remove the seal away, at least it resets the counter, so he's gonna have to build that up from scratch. Now, however, we're going to have to find ways to take advantage again. An interesting note, our opponent played his combat trick, but he didn't have a follow-up creature. Well, wait. Oh, he's still looking... So, curious as to what he's got. He's at 5 mana now. Epicure of Blood, so there's the synergy. We're going to likewise play our own synergy card. I could easily just play the Juggernaut first also. Yeah, let's do that. I can play the Juggernaut first. And just swing with the Sky Scanner for now. Basically, we're trying to regain control with the setup. So we're gonna... Thankfully, the life loss is not commensurate to how much the life gain is. It's a solid one. I'm also concerned our opponent seems to be like... Okay, Leonian Vanguard, so he's gonna gain another life. I'm gonna lose another life. But Epicure of Blood is still gonna be held back. It's not gonna buff this guy. So he's gonna try to run with the synergy here. He's offering the trade. I'm going to accept. If he has a trick, I want him to use it now. There he is. So Nightmare's Thirst. A little bit inefficient. He could have easily just... He gained enough life. He could have just killed it and just swung for damage. So enough of this. We could use one more mana so that we can follow it up with an Aviation Pioneer. Nope, got Sky Scanner. So a little bit in trouble. I'm gonna swing a Field Creeper to at least offer a trade for one of these two creatures. That's a bit okay too. So he then bite, and we're going to take 4 damage. He's just gonna play the creature again. So, noting that our only interaction is basically seal away and bounce. That's probably one of the things we're gonna fix. Good news is we got plenty of cards in that department to fix with. Bad news is, so we're gonna cast the Sky Scanner first. Right now, I'm pretty much aiming to draw and to settle the wreckage. Or likewise, I'm just aiming to throw enough bodies, but we only got 7 turns to do this. No, that's not right. We only got 5 turns to do this. So 6/6. If he swung with that, I don't have enough bodies. I'm just gonna throw the Pioneer. If I can trade with trade for the Vanguard, I will. No, he's not attacking anymore. So I'm gonna do just that. If he has Ritual Suit, it's game over for me. But those are the breaks. So right now we're just generating chump blockers. Lots and lots of chump blockers. Let's send our flyers in. 1, 2, 3. We do have enough power to force a trade, but At this point I'm gonna try to trade with one of these trees or even the Vanguard. So as we can see, if white blue is trying to play the aggro game, it's not doing a very good job at it. Even if I were to draw any of my other three bigger creatures, I did not maintain control because most of the early game was designed to set this up. So let's see what we can do. So if I were to swing with all of these and I lose these guys, nope, murder. So that one was not gonna happen. So let's see. We'll go down to 4. I can chuck these guys, swing with these guys up top. So at this point, I'm going to do just that, but this is a bit of a lost cause at this point. I guess I could say I'm happier that this deck was running Fountain of Renewal and not a Johnny's Welcome. I actually think in this case, the way this deck is positioned, the deck runs better with Fountain of Renewal. In fact, our opponent is more likely to be the control deck. So opponent's deciding what to swing with. It's actually gonna off. At this point, I'm going to lose the game next turn, so I'm just gonna offer this trade. Let's see what our opponent has last card. Technically, I made a mistake too. I should have just double blocked the lieutenant, because I would have been able to kill it that way. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna attack first, because I don't have anything that's gonna buy my way out of this. So we're not gonna win this one. So I'm just gonna see what I got. And it's a field creeper. So so the triggers enough are going to kill me at this point. So there we go. One reason why this version of the deck doesn't work. But let's see. I have actually won some games with this deck, but it seems to be dependent on getting the curve to work, getting everything to work together. Not always guaranteed. So okay, let's play again. So I'm gonna switch out a bit. So basically a way to give privacy of sorts. I think another reason why I've become quite sensitive to that's a lot of people on Facebook are posting screenshots of who they're playing with, playing against. Some people have nice things to say, that's okay, but there are also people that have nasty things to say about it too. And I can understand. Not sure, everyone has a right to have an opinion, everyone has a right to talk about other people. But sometimes we can just be nasty as human beings. So might be better just not giving that opportunity. Okay, so not so great here. We got 2 key pieces of removal, R4 drop, but no artifacts. That's it. I am willing to keep this deck. This hand. Because for us, magic number is practically 4, and we got 4 lands kind of set up here already. We got something to deal with the early game. It will suck if we draw into more lands, but I would much rather have that than to have spells but no way to cast them. And I think I can barely see it. It looks like our opponent kept. I'm going to keep as well. So what am I looking for? Well, definitely an artifact. No, that's it. I was thinking that I might want to switch out from creatures to artifact creatures to non-artifact creatures. Makes them less soft that way. But the question then becomes, if that is the case, how do I gain control of the early game? I will be completely dependent on spells like Seal Away and Disperse. I will be dependent on counter spells, which might be a hard sell, cause okay, this is a bit scary. If I start getting disconnected, I might have to turn on my VPN. If our opponent disconnects at this point, it's quite possible that's what happens too. In this case, no, it's just our opponent's AFK. And we're going to... And it's an aggro deck. Not a big biggie. I think what's the bigger biggie here is... Okay, our opponent's able to do something, but... Yeah, something's not right. I'm actually more concerned if the delay is on his side or on my side. So... Okay, there we go. So we do have a 2 mana spell, but I'm not gonna cast that. I'm gonna start by leading off with blue. At least it opens us up to... No, I'll definitely play the plains next turn. Yes, from the looks of it, it looks like our opponent might be experiencing a disconnection error. Now, right after I made the draft video, I decided to run a few games. I was running into it like every 10... I couldn't barely... every 10 minutes. No, not even every 10 minutes. More like every turn. Every turn I would get disconnected. I would run out the timer really quickly. Based on from what other people were saying, it was they noticed the glitch in the sense that people would get disconnected during... Okay. So I'm not gonna cast Seal Away in Fanatic Firebrand, so pass the turn. It's possible that our opponent is aiming for a burn to the face strategy. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, people were saying that they were getting disconnections when the game ends. They were getting disconnections during deck creation, deck building. Wizards is working on it. That's what they said the last time. Though they haven't, but otherwise I guess they're still narrowing down the fix because they've offered the general usual troubleshooting, but they haven't offered much of anything else. So that said, yeah, we have our... So we have our Seal Away target now. So am I glad I didn't cast a Field Creeper. So I'm gonna let him attack. Make him think I absolutely have nothing. Okay, now I'm gonna set up cancel mana. Pass the turn. So I guess in this case it's possible our opponent was just a little busy. Real life happens too behind the scenes. Not everyone who is playing Magic can be 100% concentrated. A lot of things can happen. So this looks like the current version of Mono Red. And this one's actually quite interesting too. So this guy just gets bigger over time, and he can end up being a mana sink if he has to. So by playing enough of this guy, you're not scared of this guy becoming irrelevant late game. As long as you can keep drawing red cards, which in mono deck, well, you could still draw into lands. Now the one thing that the deck will sorely miss is Bomat Courier. Now if our opponent is tanking, then he's doing a very good job. 3 mana is very suspicious at this point. It doesn't help that Magic MTG Arena currently has a bit of a culture of, okay, game's not going so well for me, concede. I guess it makes sense in considering that there are no actual... Well, that's not true. If you're playing a quick constructed tournament like this, there are stakes. I guess what's happening here right now is actually, yeah, I still suspect this is a disconnection error. First time for me to see it from the from my end of the world. So at least we're down to just being nickel and dimed instead of taking chunks. Now, next play is definitely going to be Aerial Engineer. Next turn, Field Creeper and Disperse. Now, current meta, 4 toughness is not a safe number anymore. There's Lava Coil, deals 4 damage to a well, thankfully not to a player's face, but it's still 4 damage to a creature. I won't be surprised if our opponent does run... No, we got Rekindling Phoenix instead. Which is kind of okay. This is enough to hold these guys back. I am going to play the Field Creeper first, just to represent that I have a possible blocking trick. Then if I need to, I can disperse any of these guys. Actually, this one's just gonna trade with Fanatical Firebrand, so that's okay. Let's see what our opponent does. I could attack, but no, in our current position, we need to hold back for blocking. That said, we do have a problem. That's basically the problem of having your artifacts also act as creatures. It's generally better if you're trying to go for an aggro strategy. That is pretty much why I said that this deck might not be the best idea for aggro. I can choose to bounce the Field Creeper, but I'm gonna have a Rekindling Phoenix to worry about. That said, I'm just gonna bounce the Field Creeper. So I'm gonna be taking even more damage now. So no attacks. The next turn I can cast Aerial Engineer and Field Creeper. I'm gonna be taking more damage to the face. And our opponent's been quite conservative with the cards he's used. Only because I haven't been put. So there's your Wizard's Lightning. So that buffs this guy up. And he's got the Shock. So he's able to answer it at the cost of 2 spells, but I'm going to be taking 8 damage now. Also, our note, our opponent has a potential 9 mana next turn, unless he drains all these counters now. He actually is, so he's going to take us down to 4. And we're in... And this is our only play, but it's not the best play. 1 removal spell means that Aerial Engineer will not block Rekindling Phoenix. And even then, we are in trouble too, because this Phoenix is going to come back. Flame of Keld triggers. So I'm going to have to throw the Field... Well, thankfully I'm not being forced to throw the Field Creeper under the bus. Now, if this goes really fast, I might just do this one more time. So, we got Sky Scanner. Let's see what we can get. A bounce spell would be okay. No, we got an Aviation Pioneer, so we're going to have to deal with it one more turn. We do have chump blockers now, but no profitable attacks at this point. So we need a little less creatures that can be interacted with. We need more interaction ourselves. So I'm already seeing how to redo the deck. Definitely gonna be aiming for cards like Syncopate, so basically flexible counter spells. Sinister Sabotage is an option. It could just be straight up cancel, but no, Sinister Sabotage is definitely an option. So we're gonna be taking... So it's gonna actually ping the Field Creeper so it doesn't just trade outright. And now I have to throw away my entire board. Well, not quite. I can take the 2 damage. But it's pretty much game over for me. Yep. Drew into lands. Good game. Let's deal 1 damage. So not looking so great for the artifacts attack deck. I think the best place for artifacts is not to attack until they have to. That's it. I'm already getting ideas of which cards should be in the deck. Actually, one thing of interesting note is it seems like they've made a conscious effort to choose the M19 version of a card whenever possible. Now, there are some cards that obviously won't exist in M19. They chose those, but for the artifacts attack deck, they had plenty of choices from Dominaria, but they opted not to go that route. The Engineer came from M19. The Aether Shield came from M19. The only thing that Field Creeper came from M19. Sky Scanner's also from M19. I'm keeping this. So I'm not gonna play too. Well, I could play the second Meandering River on turn 3 based on what we got here. So let's run our relics. Its opponent doesn't seem to have. Well, if he has counter spells, they're not on turn 2. But this does look like is looking to be a mono blue deck. Actually, the mono blue artifacts deck might have a better build than the white blue deck if you look at it. I'm actually gonna take a look. Do they still have Zahid and whatnot? So I'm gonna play that. Play the Field Creeper. If it gets countered, that's perfectly fine. I might actually hold back the other Field Creeper because we're gonna 18. Well, technically, the maths dictates I should just play the next Field Creeper. That said, I don't think our opponent is going to allow us to take advantage of that. Now, this is. So what? Is this a mono blue mill deck? That's pretty much the only thing I can think of if you're willing to run cards that... In this case, our opponent has a Muse Drake. So it's mono blue card advantage so far. I'm playing my other Field Creeper now because I now have a reason to go through for damage. This Settle the Wreckage is going to be very important. So we need to see how aggro our opponent is. At this point, he's definitely gonna just hold this back. I don't see any reason for our opponent to attack with Muse Drake. He's probably gonna just drop something bigger and attack with that instead. Which puts us in a bad position considering we have no action other than Settle the Wreckage. Salvager of Secrets, Bison back Befuddle. So at least we can block this, so it's not... Let's see if he actually attacks. Nope, he's not gonna attack. Well, at least we now have a threat he must answer. But we do have to remember he has Befuddle, so this is going to just deal... Gonna swing for 1 next turn. Well, that depends if he actually holds up the mana for it. It's actually quite bad. The Juggernaut's gonna be swinging to his death unless I have... Well, that depends. If he actually casts the... So he's casting Water Knot. So that is one way to deal with it. So our opponent has a control build of sorts. He's going to disperse our Relic Runner, which is actually fine. He's Now, the correct play for him would not be to not attack with the Muse Drake. He could swing with the Salvager, that's fine. So he's gonna play the Relic Runner and pass the turn because that's literally all I've got. So our opponent is waiting to play something really big. Now the question is, how many creatures am I willing to wait for my opponent to attack with? before I settle the wreckage. At this point, our opponent's also wondering what is he. Okay, so he's now attacking with these guys because he can use the diamond mare to block. So I'm actually going to. I'm actually gonna block with the field. I'm actually gonna block with the field creeper, force him to use the befuddle now. So at least better to worry about it now when the stakes are not so high, rather than to worry about later when the stakes are high. Now that I got that out of his hand, I can now save my field creeper. I still don't have an answer to Diamond Mare, but at least I've answered that problem for now. He's still gonna draw a card. Definitely mono blue. It's definitely got more action than I do, especially if I keep drawing like this. I could just swing with these guys now, but let's see. That accomplishes nothing, so I'm not gonna even attack now. I'm probably on the losing end at this point. He's got 7 mana, tons of virtual action. I won't be surprised if he drops a Nezahal anytime soon. I am probably gonna do another run with this again, but I'm probably gonna see what changes I could. Okay, so opponent got an aerial elemental. Now we have to deal with that. And we're still drawing lands, so we're not going to be dealing with that anytime soon. This would be a good time to actually draw into Azor. Azor would be a good time to draw into Azor or Nezahal. So let's see. In fact, we got 8 mana at this point, so I can stop playing lands already. But now I'm on a fine turn clock. Let's see if we draw some. Well, did draw Aviation Pioneer. Now, a little bit of a non-bow with Relic Runner, so Relic Runner's probably also gonna go. I'll see how long I can hold out with Air Element. Hold out before I have to throw the Topter under the bus. I won't be surprised if our opponent refuses to attack with these guys after that first settle the wreckage. That might be the best play out of a bad situation. And well, he's at. Well, we know our opponent's got barely anything if he's willing to cast full value for Zahid. But now we're in no position to win at this point. Let's see if we could salvage it, but it's quite unlikely. Especially if we keep drawing islands past the turn. I think it's obvious to our opponent that we're drawing lands. So we're going to take 9 damage. Our opponent's probably going to swing with the other guys. So my outs at this point would... So the most I could do is at least take out the Archaeologist and the Diamond Mare. Or not. That's good game. So that's more than lethal at this point. So we didn't do very well. In fact, we did quite horribly. I could just proceed to deck building at this point. But you know what? I'm going to claim the prize now. Kind of sad. Then I'm going to do something really dumb. Actually, I'm going to go over the deck building first. But our bonus episode is just going to be me going over this, quick constructed one more time, just to see if things change or not. Actually, you know what? Let's just play one more, just just for this evening. Then afterwards we'll just go straight to gameplay. So shift. So yeah, didn't do so hot. Let's see if we can actually steal a win with this one. Okay, so switch back to F1. So I'm definitely keeping this hand. We don't need the white man. We don't need the white man until turn 4. So we might end up looking at best case scenario. Even then, I would not call this best case scenario. We're also one land shy for these cards, but at least we got some early action going. And proceed to watch Gearsmith Prodigy get wrecked by Doom the Center. Okay, not too bad. So we got another Gearsmith Prodigy. I'm actually gonna encourage the trade now. Just get it over with. I'll play my. Oh, he didn't. So he must be I think he. If this is the case, he might be aiming to try to sacrifice this to something. Possible that there's a journey into eternity that's going to land on this Doom Dissenter, then he's gonna swing. It's a good way to accelerate into mana, I guess. And it actually gets his Dissenter back. As it is right now, we are a bit stuck on lands. Thankfully, we got some early action, but again, this might not be quite comfortable enough for me. So opponent's now going to throw the Dissenter under the bus. He might have an effect to take fungal infection, so he's not. So he's taking it with him. So am I willing to take 2? So am I willing to take the 2 that... No, he's willing to trade it. At this point, I got nothing better to do. But this is really looking bad if I don't draw into anything. So I'm now just offering the trade between this and the zombie token. So we need one more... Need one more mana just to get anything right. Opponent opted not. Well, nothing's going right. But I probably would have played the Omnivore first. You're using your Saprolings as fuel unless he's got the Spore Crown Talid. Nope, he didn't have it yet. But Spore Crown Talid now would really be backbreaking. Well, but personally, I think this is more backbreaking for me. Self-inflicted, no lands. At this point, even the next turn Sky Scanner is not gonna do it. I might have to even just play the Pioneer first. Aerial Engineer by itself is quite decent. It's still a big body. My opponent just waited just so he can get extra triggers. And he's finally going all out. So we're gonna take 3, 4. We're gonna take 7 damage. And still not drawing lands. So 3. For everyone he sacrifices 5, 7, 9, 12. Yeah, that's good game. I'm gonna ditch the Aether Shield Artificer. So today is not my day. You're going to see a video of me losing time and losing over and over again. That said, we did learn. The last game wasn't quite as. Our opponent could have gone for the win. You know what? I'm gonna tell him significantly I got nothing. There, tapped all my mana out. Ditching again. Well, he didn't ding me with that one. There. Yeah, before I concede, I really should do the tap-tap part. So, all in all, that was not good. So, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to proceed to the deck. We're going to proceed straight to deck building. So, stand by. Let's see if I can get this working right. Okay, that's better. So, this is the deck as it is right now. We're going to set the format and all that. I guess the nice thing now is that finally I don't have to look at cards that are not in the set. So let's determine how to make Artifacts attack actually work. So I'm gonna set the grouping here, analyze deck now. So first thing I'm gonna drop are a lot of the aggro components. So Gearsmith Prodigy has to go. Field Creeper has to go. I'm willing to keep the Sky Scanner because it does have a come into play ability, but if we're going to go for a control route, there is actually a better one. Sure, it doesn't fly, but let's actually keep cutting stuff. Relic Runner has to go. I think at this point I'm going to cut Teshar. I'm willing to keep Azor. I'm willing to keep the Pioneers, not the Artificers. I'm keeping the Engineers. Disperse can be replaced. Goring Ceratops can go. One with the machine goes. So this is what cut about 16 cards. So first thing we're gonna do is make our replacements. Disperse is gonna be replaced with Blink of an Eye. And I'm gonna set this at about 2 to 3 copy. I'm gonna set this at 3 copies because we need more interaction. Oh yeah, Temporal Machinations can go, and I'll just bump it up to 4. So keep the Sky Scanner, but I want to consider Skittering Surveyor. Also 3 mana, but this does something different. Instead of drawing us any card, it draws us a basic land. And this might be important if we're going to make this into a control deck. As you can see, we had problems. We had 2 kinds of problems. One problem was not drawing enough mana. And this is basically going to be a 3 and 4 mana deck, at the very least. The other problem was drawing into nothing but mana. So at least Skittering Surveyor, it takes the card, it takes that specific card out early, so it works and works both ways. I'll put 3 copies of the Surveyor for now. Speaking of SKI, this is probably a better payoff in my opinion. Skilled Animator. So it turns an artifact, it just bumps it up to 5/5. Now, if we used it on Sky Scanner, it would be a 5/5 flyer. Otherwise it's just a regular 5/5. I'm going to put in 2 copies for now, because I want my payoffs to actually be at 3 to 4 mana. Actually, that's not too bad. So we're keeping the Aerial Engineers, keeping the Aviation Pioneers, sort of. Juggernaut is decent, but it's more aggro. It could even be a liability, so I'm going to cut those. So I said I was going to put in non-creature artifacts. So the choices I have in mind are Treasure Map, which helps us smooth our draws. This would be very important. Actually, be something I would have liked. Something I would have liked earlier with all the scry and whatnot. So I'd probably put 2. Actually, I want a total of 3 here, but I'm torn between Treasure Map and Thaumatic Compass. Now, this gives us another control element if we do transform it, but also gives us a way to draw cards as well, albeit in the form of lands. If we're willing to activate this a lot, I could drop the Skittering Surveyor. In fact, it kind of obsoletes the Surveyor, so having 2 of these, I could just drop these instead. Nice thing is, we can just activate this at instant speed, so the catch would be we'll have to emphasize on a lot of instant speed removal and counter spells. That said, I've just talked myself into... I'm still torn between which one of these guys to drop. Sure, the Sky Scanner flies. That's a bonus to it, but if people are still willing to run Fanatic Firebrand, it's actually a liability. I'm gonna shift the Sky Scanners to the sideboard for now. Nezahal probably should go to the sideboard as well. So I'm gonna put this at about 4. We do need ways to draw into artifacts or produce. Let's see. So there is the there's this Saga, Antiquities War. We can use this one. So what this does is for 2 turns, first 2 turns, it lets us look at top 5 cards and draws us an artifact card, so to speak. Then after that, it turns all of our artifacts into artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5. So I would like at least 2 copies of this. And it's also 4 off, so it does draw us into something. I also want to bump up Settled Wreckage by 2, but I also want to add Cleansing Nova as well. We need sweepers per se. So I'm making this a 2 and 2 mix for now. So with this, we might... Aviation Pioneer has the bonus that it gives us 2 bodies for the price of 1. However, I think I want to drop those all together. Now let's take... So as it is, Antiquities War doesn't draw us into much. It only gives us like 7 targets. It lets us look through 5 cards, but that's not enough. We need more artifacts per se. So let's look for more artifacts. Preferably non-creatures, preferably something that can benefit us somehow. Azor's Gateway is also a card draw artifact. We can't take advantage of the flip side though. Plausible, we could use it. Blood Tallow Candles of some sort of removal. Sorry. Awakened Amalgam, not gonna... We could run an Arcane Encyclopedia as a means to draw into cards. It's something to consider. I'll just put one in the sideboard, something to think. I should really take advantage of this maybe board. Let's leave it there. So, Chamber Sentry. This one gets counters whenever we... So this one will only just give us be a 2-mana 2/2. And we won't be able to take advantage of it. So that's a no. Chromatic Lanterns, a no. Crucibles, a no. I could run Diamond Mare, especially if I aim it more towards blue than white. Sorry. It's a bit gassy today. Elaborate Fire Cannon. No, I'm not spending cards just to be able to spend mana and deal damage. Fountain of Renewal could be a way to keep our life up, especially if we're not running creatures early. So if you note, our earliest creature is turn 3, and that's just this one, so it's a bit scary. I might actually just throw the Sky Scanners back in. Meanwhile, let's keep looking. Gleaming Barrier. This one buys us time and still gives us another artifact even if it dies, so that's a possibility. The Locket. So Golden Guardian. It has to fight the creature we control, so and it has to die, so we need a high target. 4-mana 4/4 Defender on its own, probably not that impressive. It is plausible. Icy Manipulator is a way to get control. Unfortunately, the cheaper version is in Kaladesh, so we don't have that one. So, Magistrate's Scepter, no, that just buys a lot of turns. No, that just sinks like, what, 9 mana just to buy a turn? Mox Amber, wait, Mishra's Self-Replicator, no, this one works on historic triggers. You could run the Meteor Golem as a late game payoff for needing an artifact. I know the monocolor decks have at least one, so let's just put that in the sideboard. So it is something to run into, run towards at least. Power Stone Shard, but we have no real means of life. Well, we have no real means of taking advantage of that much mana. So, Primal Amulet makes our spells cheaper, but we're gonna get torn between two directions. We definitely need another cheap artifact. At this point, even the Silent Gravestone, that one's on the sideboard. I could mainboard it, but Sparring Construct is also not too bad, I guess. It's a 1/1 for 1. It's also relatively cheap. I would probably run it more for historic triggers than not. Suspicious Bookcase, not really. Tezzeret's Gatebreaker. Wait, I think this is from the Planeswalker deck. Yeah, it's from the Planeswalker deck. So it's interesting, but I'm not gonna recommend it. We still have Traveling Amulet. This is also another way to get an early artifact and get lands out of the deck. So this might be an alternative to Skittering Surveyor. Let's see if we can find something better though. Where's this tome? This lets us loot. And I guess Urza's Tome is a possible play. Voltaic Servant's also plausible. I might choose Urza's Tome over the Arcane Encyclopedia only because it's cheaper. But probably the better solution is just to run more treasure maps and Tomatic Compasses. So let's do. Okay, let's bump this up to 3. I'm gonna move the Sky Scanners back, but I'm gonna cut the Skittering Surveyors down to 2. So we got 2 copies of Sentinel the Wreckage, 2 copies of Cleansing Nova. I might actually sideboard the Cleansing Novas for now. So our removal is Blink, Seal Away. We need to put in Ixalan's Binding. So let's kill that filter. So we're gonna definitely need Ixalan's Binding, but I probably want to just put 2 copies main, 2 copies in the sideboard. We could just use we could just use the new version, Conclave Tribunal. We do have some creatures, so we do have a way to make it cheaper. And if we're going for main blue, this might actually be a better choice. So I'm gonna make that change. I'm gonna bump up Conclave Tribunal to 2. Move Ixalan's Binding to the sideboard as a 3 off. Actually, no, I'm just gonna cut it down to 2 also. I don't think I can afford to have too many hard removal spells. I'm gonna put in some Syncopates as well. So this is our flexible counter. So our early game is mostly geared around control. Our late game is geared towards so it's really just about it's geared towards being able to play an Azor or being able to have our aerial engineers work. I might actually just make this a 4 off at this point. Sad thing is that we don't have that many real payoffs for running artifacts. I might make a version where it's just a plain old white blue control deck. Oh yeah, speaking of which, let's be honest, everyone and their mothers has a copy of Teferi at this point, so I'm gonna just put in one. So Skilled Animator. I'm a bit uncomfortable about the number of artifacts we're running. Another option we have for artifacts are treasure tokens. So let's look at the So Depths of Desire we could run as an alternative to Blink of an Eye. Actually, I could run. Basically, it's a. We could actually do that. Hold on. So I'm gonna cut this down to 3. I'm going to put Depths of Desire as a 2 off. At least we have. At least it gives us an artifact. Hornswoggle's an alternate also, but this only counters creature spells. Well, it might depend. I still prefer Syncopate because it's more flexible. Pirate's Prize. This one draws us cards. We also don't have much in the way of card draw, which is kind of unbelievable for a white-blue deck. So we're depending on Treasure Map and Thaumatic Compass to draw us, I guess. Draw cards for us, I guess. Sailor of Means is the go-to for. Is the go-to card, especially for control. If you got Spell Swindle, I would run 1 copy at least, but I don't think it's that important. Prosperous Pirates is no. Hornswoggle might not be a bad idea, at least for the sideboard. So we got 3 copies of Syncopate, 3 cop. Because if we don't run because at least Hornswoggle is 2 and a white, so 2 and a blue. We could just run Sinister Sabotage. It's probably better in that sense. Let's see. Let's see if there are any actual 2-mana counter spells. I'm probably gonna get. Well, there's Admiral's Order. This is this counter spell you can keep buying back. There's the usual cancel. There's Bone to Ash. Daring Archaeologist, what does this do? You may return an artifact when you cast an historic spell, put a +1/+1 counter. We could run Daring Archaeologist, but it's something to think of. It is a rare, so I'm maybe not so much. Disdainful Stroke is probably the better counter spell in this sense. If we want it counters really big stuff. That's probably a better bet. Devious Cover Up buys us some cards back. Not so much in the way of counter spells nowadays. Lookouts Dispersal. Kinda wanna have a pirate. It's really Sinister Sabotage at this point. Spell Pierce. Unwind. This only affects non-creature spells. We don't benefit from Mirari Conjecture. We don't benefit from Wizard's Retort. So I might actually just run 1 copy of Now, even if we run Primal Amulet, none of our spells really benefit from it, so that's an out. Rampaging Monument. No, we don't have enough So it's actually looking like Hornswoggle might get in. Now before we check out, I'm gonna take a look at all the cards that say artifact. Let's see if there are any payoffs I'm not missing. Let's also look at all the artifacts at the same time. So, Aviation Pioneer, I'm not too keen on. Acer's Gateway is actually not a bad idea. It's something that can help us draw cards with. But that said, I'm not too keen on the entire deck as a whole. We're not It's not quite the same without Kaladesh. Damping Sphere. No, this is really made for modern. It has nothing to do with us here. Curator's Wards a no. We don't have stuff to buy back, so Desecrated Tombs a no. Staying Wall to process. Also, I might need to adjust the mana base a bit, but I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Okay. So if I were a more aggressive, I am probably gonna want a 2-mana artifact creature still. Okay, and that card's probably gonna be Diamond Mare. Yeah, that's probably a bit. I'm probably gonna want Diamond Mare over Fiend Creeper in this case. So, whoops. Let's go back to standard. Diligent Excavator. When you cast a historic spell, this mills. Could we do a mill strategy as part of our control? That's a bit harder to do. Yeah, it's looking like Diamond Mare might be our go-to creature. If you're gonna run Gargoyle Sentinel, I might as well just run the Surveyor and the Sky Scanner. As I said, Gleaming Barrier is another possible option. Not too keen on that though. I guess for the bonus round, I'm going to just make a deck that just drops the artifact team altogether. Let's see if we can just make a straight control deck. That might be a better option. It's Pillar of Origins. I think you choose a creature type. Okay, yeah, that's what it does. Pendulum of Patterns. Oh. So we gain life and you draw a card. And is this from yep. It's from the Planeswalker deck, so that's why we barely saw it. Rogue's Glove. Yeah, we're trying to avoid equipment because we're not running that many creatures to begin with. Sage of Latnam. Discard an artifact card. Sentinel Totem. I've been recommending Silent Gravestone all this time, but Sentinel Totem might actually just be the better card here. Well, that said, actually Silent Gravestone also hosts the graveyard even without it. I also forgot to put in Sorcerer's Spyglass. I guess I could just use that as part of our sideboard. Yeah, it's a one-off. Okay, that pretty much fills out the deck, but I'm honestly not happy with these adjustments. Sure, the deck is more controlling, but I don't think the cost is worth it. This is the Planeswalker Tezzeret. No, frankly, Tezzeret might actually be better than Teferi. It's probably a good fit here too. Yeah, it's actually a better fit here. Let's also put the Tezzeret in. I'll just drop the Aerial Engineer. So there we have it. More controlling take. Maybe board's gone. So let's analyze the deck. Check our colors. So mana distribution's okay. I can afford to cut one island and replace it with Arch of Araska. It's a shame we don't have the Kaladesh lands anymore, so no Inventor's Fair and whatnot. I'm going to bump up the Glacial Fortresses to 4, drop the Meandering Rivers, but we need... I guess I could just put in the Field of Ruin. That's the traditional control card. That's the traditional control land, I mean. Field of Ruin's quite fine. We don't have any other great cards. Though, in fairness, we probably don't need to. If we flip Treasure Map, that gives us a land. If we flip Thaumatic Compass, that gives us a land. So, let's restrict our searches to land. Let's see if we find something interesting before I just return that forest. So, Cabal Strongholds go. No. Conqueror's Foothold, this is flipped, yeah. So none of the flip cards are an option here because we already have a ton of them right now. Neither are the gates, neither's Guildmage's Forum. I guess it sucks to be a land now. We're not getting any room for it. I guess a memorial to no, not Unity, a memorial to Genius. This does give us some emergency card draw, and it counts as an island. Yeah, I'll probably just put that in. We've dropped all. We don't have any turn one plays anyway. Reliquary Tower is not necessary. So yeah, it's looking like we're not gonna get much in the way of lands this time. I could just also bump this up, but let's take a look. But if we look at our mana, actually our mana distribution is quite even. It might be reasonable to even cut a few of these lands. Like let's cut 2 of these and 1 plains, and just return the meandering rivers. That might even be reasonable also. We're not exactly a 2 mana deck, and we actually survived quite fine with it. We just didn't survive when we didn't draw lands. So if you look at our curve, yeah, we got bunch of artifacts on early, but that's about it. In fact, for an artifacts attack deck, we only have 5 artifacts. Go figure. I kind of well, that's not quite true. We have some artifact creatures also. So if we remember, the previous version had virtually 12 artifacts because we include the we include the Topters from that one creature. Here in this case we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 actual artifacts. Tezzeret produces artifacts, so that's a virtual 11. Antiquities War helps us draw into artifacts. My only concern is that this might not be enough of a payoff, so this might actually not fit. If we do the math, we probably could draw a card. So like, if you think of it, with 10 actual artifacts in a 60 card deck, that is, in theory you're probably gonna see 1 artifact. You're probably gonna miss a bit also. So Antiquities Wars, without running any more artifacts, I probably wouldn't run the Antiquities War, which is a bit of a shame. If the Diamond Mares were main board, okay, let's move this to the main board. Diamond Mares. So what do we move out? So I had the Depths of Desire here. This was also a virtual artifact. If I move that to the sideboard and move one of our Conclave Tribunals. Okay, let's do it like that. So if we made that adjustment, we will have even more artifacts. That makes Antiquities War a bit more palatable. So okay, so let's do another quick check with that one. So this would be how I would build an artifact deck. It doesn't take advantage of historic triggers, sadly, so which is a bit hard to do. And it's a bit easier on our curve. So we still have 7 creatures, but 5 of them are artifact creatures, so we got 10. Actually no, 8 plus 5, so we got 13 artifacts. I actually forgot about the Depths of Desire. This one gave us artifacts too, but let's not have to worry about that too much. So I guess this is it. I'm really quite concerned about the sideboard. I really don't think it's gonna work that well, but I'm kind of fresh out of ideas at this point. Well, having to play a deck that you know isn't at its best and having to suffer through it, yeah, that's gonna take a lot out. But anyway, this is my take on the Artifacts attack deck. If you've learned anything from this, maybe even just learning, don't play it right out of the bat. Actually, before I go, there is one more payoff card I forgot. I might actually prefer it over Aerial Engineer. So I'm gonna cut one Aerial Engineer. Only because I know we only have one copy of this. Zahid Jinn of the Lamp, it's virtually a 4-drop, so I'm gonna put that in. That said, I could just keep the 3 Aerial Engineers. I might end up what I would cut for it. Maybe the Skilled Animator? No, let's just leave it at that. Also makes it easier on the mana, I guess, so we don't have to lean towards on our planes too much. Yeah, that's... So we're definitely base blue at this point. If you can get more copies of Zahid, by all means, fill them in. I would cut the Aerial Engineers for it. Do be careful that, well, actually that is kind of the reason why our artifacts are non-creatures. Though to be fair, we only got 5 of them, so there is a little bit of risk. That said, this one's a bit tougher, so it's not too bad. It's not as soft as the Field Creeper. So this would be my take. It's more of, it's not really artifacts anymore. It's more of artifacts control. But yeah, that's my take on the deck. So that is it for this episode of the Magic Arena Run. I don't know if you liked what you saw. I'm certainly wasn't happy. I was doing better in quick play, promise. But sometimes some things just catch up to you. I guess it's also, we'll see. I'll probably play a few more games. If I do actually win something, I might put that as part of the bonus video just to show that this deck is not a complete wash. But I'll be honest, that this deck is kind of a bit of a wash. Anyway, that's it for this episode. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please don't forget to leave a notification. If you have any other actual ideas on how to make this deck work, please let me know in the comments. And that's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you guys again next time.